You know, it's funny, if you think about it, the most dangerous things in a corporate office almost never look dangerous at first glance. They usually look incredibly, almost painfully boring. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to unpack a wild workplace investigation drawn right from the source material of the Office Drama series. Today we're doing a deep dive into a seemingly mundane administrative object, a simple project folder that ended up exposing a massive, systemic corporate cover-up. So let's jump right into this and see exactly how one tiny, quiet, digital record managed to prove what a whole room full of executives tried to erase.
To really understand this story, we have to start with a core mystery. We have an operations coordinator named Sofia. She did all the hard work to build out this massive project. But suddenly, out of nowhere, her credit was just erased. Her name was gone. Poof. So the central question we are unpacking today isn't just how this happened, but why. Who manipulated the system to steal her credit? And more importantly, who actually benefits when a file's history is suddenly and quietly wiped clean?
All right, let's get into Section 1, the project folder, and the hidden testimony lurking right there in its metadata.
Enter Maya Carter, our strategy lead and the one who spots the central anomaly of this whole investigation. And it's a glaring one. The chronological history of this folder is quite literally impossible. Check this out. The original file is created on day 1. By day 3, the file is modified, and the ownership is suddenly changed to a senior executive. But somehow, the system is reflecting a fabricated new creation date of day 2. The timeline itself is screaming that someone manipulated it. I mean, you literally cannot create a file a date after it originally existed while pretending the day 1 work just never happened. The system is hesitating, and that sequence is speaking way louder than any executive's denial.
Now, what would you do in this situation? Most people panic, or they just accept the anomaly as a weird IT glitch, but not Sofia. Sofia Lane does something brilliant. She reads what experienced people usually skip right over. She opens up the Properties panel. She checks the Activity tab. She starts asking the really dangerous questions. Who changed it? When did it change? And who gained power when it changed? She doesn't let panic give powerful people the time they need to clean up their mess. Instead, she uses this calm, methodical curiosity to make the folder's anomalies practically shout.
Which brings us to Section 2, Polite Excuses, and the wonderfully toxic world of corporate language.
You see, when senior leaders get caught in a lie like this, they rarely give some grand villainous monologue. Instead, they deploy polite, sanitized corporate speak. The leaders in this story claim that altering the folder was just about alignment and polish and efficiency. Standard buzzwords, right? One senior voice even had the nerve to suggest that questioning the date manipulation would make the team look divided, framing their little warning as career advice. They claimed they were just protecting the team from confusion. It's an absolute masterclass in gaslighting. They were asking the person who was harmed to be generous and just accept the erasure for the sake of office peace.
But Maya wasn't having it. She systematically dismantles these emotional excuses by building what she calls a proof map. It just lays out the cold, hard facts. The object? The project folder. Original owner? Sofia at 9 a.m. The modified folder owner? The executive at 11:30 p.m. And the beneficiary of all this? That exact same executive. Now, nothing on this math is overly dramatic on its own, but when you put it all together, it completely strips away all those abstract, polite excuses. Maya proves that you don't need to shout when you have a clean, documented path from the action directly to the owner.
Moving right along to Section 3, following the digital trail, because as we'll see, background work always leaves foreground records.
So, the perpetrators desperately tried to claim this modified file was just a one-off mistake, a little oopsie. Enter Nina, an executive assistant who absolutely understands how the modern office really works. She knows a fundamental truth. Invisible background work always leaves undeniable foreground records. She starts pulling receipts. We're talking calendar exports, saved drafts, meeting notes, forwarding trails, the whole shebang. People who steal credit often treat their administrative steps as invisible. But Nina proves that rooms were booked, calls were scheduled, and links were forwarded. She takes that isolated project folder and places it inside a much larger pattern, proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that this theft wasn't a mistake. It was by design.
All right, Section 4, Cloud Evidence Comparison. This is where we get into the undeniable sequence of events. Okay, picture the tension in that room. The polite excuses are running dry, and IT audit specialist Jordan Price steps in. Before he drops the absolute smoke and gun, we need to briefly define what he's looking at here. Metadata. It's simply the digital footprint recording exactly when and who interacted with a file. Think of it as the invisible ink of the corporate world. And Jordan knows that the truth isn't some cinematic hacking scene, it's a sequence of metadata.
Somebody opened something, changed something, approved something, and benefited.
This is the explosive moment of our whole explainer. Jordan projects the raw data export for the entire room, directly comparing the cloud birth time against the local export metadata. This is the ultimate showdown of digital evidence. By putting these two pieces of data side by side, he isolates the exact sequence of the theft. The cloud birth time tries to show one reality, but that local export metadata, it holds the unalterable footprint of when the file was truly born and exactly when it was tampered with locally. This direct comparison completely shatters the executive's official story.
Jordan looks right at the executives and drops this incredible line. This is not suspicion, this is sequence. Wow. By comparing the cloud's birth time directly with the local export metadata, Jordan's raw data completely removes any need for interpretation. The old corporate culture tried to argue that system logs are fuzzy and need interpretation, but Jordan trapped their polite excuses in a corner with objective, irrefutable data. The owner field changed, the timestamp moved, and the access path narrowed. It's checkmate.
With the evidence now totally undeniable, Aisha, an analyst looking at this with fresh eyes, asks the pivotal question that violently shifts the entire room. She asks, who benefits if this stays classified as harmless? You see, office lies only survive when the harm is kept vague. The second Aisha asks this, the room realizes the answer isn't abstract at all. They are forced to move past all those fluffy process excuses and identify the specific, actual beneficiaries of the theft.
Finally, Section 5, Resetting Justice, or how to turn a hard lesson into a permanent workflow.
Catching the culprit is one thing, right? But as Maya says, you shouldn't quietly fix what can publicly teach. Independent board member Elise and HR manager Linda step up to ensure they don't just offer some quiet private apology. They implement a systemic fix. They turn this whole mess into a concrete architecture of protection. The new workflow? Preserve the project folder, notify the affected employee, correct the record, attach the reason code, and audit the system. File birth records are now a permanent, protected part of the corporate chain of custody. They literally weaponize process to make sure people are named correctly before the next theft can even begin.
And this leads to a really powerful emotional resolution for our story. The corrected record goes up on the screen, and Sofia's name is publicly restored to the work she actually did. It replaces those private, sweeping and under-the-rug apologies with true, public accountability. Because naming the work correctly isn't just some administrative courtesy, it's actual proof that an office can still learn, adapt, and protect its people from erasure.
Ultimately, unpacking this source material leaves us with a profound takeaway. The truth was not dramatic, it was documented. Workplace justice and accountability, they aren't about dramatic boardroom speeches or aggressively pointing fingers. They are about patient, indisputable documentation. It's all about a timestamp, a draft, and a record that is patient enough to outlive the lie.
Which leaves us with a final, provocative thought for you to chew on. Think about your own office for a second. Is your career, your credit, and your hard work protected by a transparent system where every single file has a timestamp and a witness? Or is it held together by polite lies and untraceable exceptions? Because I promise you, the next lie will always be smarter, which means your next record has to be stronger.